Welcome back to the program, everyone. I'm your host today, Jeff, here for Economic Preppers, and I wanted to share a couple of interesting news stories. I know it's the holiday season. I know everybody's busy. We've been busy too. We've been little L's packing lots of packages to make sure that they get out for Christmas. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But I wanted to share two important stories from the news, not from the U.S. news, of course, because they don't want to tell you these certain things. And I'll talk about one story that they are telling you about. That's a major distraction. But I wanted to tell you about two stories that are in other countries. And the reason I tell you about that is because what happens over there often migrates to other countries. So before I get into that, I want to wish you a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate, Hanukkah, whatever. No offense to anyone, but for me, it's Merry Christmas. For most people I know, it's Merry Christmas. And I know people are busy. But these are the kind of stories, as we've said many times, that they try to slip under the radar this time of year so you don't notice. So the headlines, we know the story in Colorado that's stealing all the headlines right now. Okay, the story in Colorado where a certain candidate for the election next year is they're trying to throw him off of the ballot. They're not making it easy for you to elect someone. And by the way, you can always write somebody in. I mean, so you don't have to check the box. But I will say this: I've hat tip to X22 for pointing this out and finding this. I'm not sure where he found it, but Dave and his team found this. But I want to share this information, and I want to get this out there. And I know it's the holiday season, so hopefully you get time to watch this. I'll keep it short. So here we go. First off, this story. The story you probably know about what's going on in Colorado, and that the fact that they're trying to keep certain former leader of the U.S., watching my words carefully, from being available on the ballot. Now, if you look closely on what X22 reported, and I'm going to read the underlined part, in the judgment that the judges passed down from the state of Colorado, they said if review is sought in the Supreme Court, basically an appeal, before the stay expires on January 4th, 2024. So if that individual and his team appeals this ruling before January 4th, 2024, which we know will happen, then the stay shall remain in place, which means that this is not going to be enacted into, they're not going to act upon this ruling. And the secretary will continue to be required to include that individual's name on the presidential primary ballot for 2024. So basically what I'm saying is that, like I've said several times on this channel before, they want you to show you something. It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, right? Don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Here's the big show. Pay attention to this. That's what everybody should be talking about and arguing about over Christmas and New Year's and over the holidays. It's a non-story. It's not going to happen. This is the misdirection. What I want to tell you about, these two stories I want to tell you about, and by the way, I'm going to post these on Twitter too. That's something I'm trying. See how much new following we get. And if you like this kind of content, please go to the YouTube channel and like and subscribe, or follow me on Twitter. We're going to try and build a bigger following on both and see how it goes. But here's the two stories I wanted to talk about. First story, and I'm going to change the screen here. There we go. First, I've mentioned Argentina many times, or Argentina for my Latino friends. New President Milei announced a sweeping decree to deregulate the economy. On Wednesday, he unveiled just a day or so ago, unveiled a series of measures to deregulate the country's struggling economy, eliminating or changing more than 300 rules, including on rent and labor practices. So this was issued in most of Latin America and Europe, write their dates backwards from what you're used to in the U.S. So December 21st. I guess it is the 21st. It's Happy Solstice Day, by the way. I believe it's at 10:27 Eastern time. And it's one of my favorite days of the year because it's the shortest day of the year. So they all get longer from here. We get more daylight. So let me get back to the story. So new President Javier Milei announced on Wednesday a series of measures to deregulate the country's struggling economy, eliminating or changing more than 300 rules, including on rent and labor practices. The goal is to start the path to rebuilding the country and start to undo the huge number of regulations that have held back and prevented economic growth, Milei said in a televised speech from the presidential palace, flanked by his cabinet. Latin America's third biggest economy, so Argentina is not something to be joked around. It's pretty big. The economy is on its knees after decades of debt and financial mismanagement, with annual inflation at 140%, and 40% of Argentinians, I'm not sure how best to say that, are Argentines living in poverty. So he was elected less than 2 weeks ago. He's pledged to curb inflation. And and it said it's going to be a shock treatment. It's going to get worse before it improves. Among the changes announced on Wednesday are the elimination of a law regulating rent, as well as rules preventing the privatization of state enterprises. That's basically just, he's trying to reform the economy. Milei also announced the modernization of labor law to facilitate the process of creating real jobs, and a series of other deregulatory measures affecting tourism, satellite internet services, such as, I believe it's, I can't, if you remember what it's called, put it in the comment. Starlink. I remember. Starlink. I think that's what he's talking about there from Elon. Pharmaceuticals, wine production, foreign trade. So basically, the things that they export, well, at least repealing a lot of export things, making it easier to do. So it's going to be shock therapy for the economy. It's getting some people, the previous administration, obviously mixed reviews, but that's what happens when a new government gets put into place. The other story comes from Europe, and it's a country that you may not pay much attention to. It's actually Poland. So Poland state TVP info channel is off air as Tusk reform kicks in. Now, what am I talking about? Polish state TV channel. That's the public TV channel. TVP. I have no idea what it stands for. It's probably in Polish. I don't speak Polish. Feel free to leave it in the comments and inform me. I'd love to learn. So the TVP channel info has been taken off the air after Prime Minister Donald Tusk's new government moved it to depoliticize public media. Sound familiar? Parliament in Warsaw backed a resolution on Tuesday night calling for independence, objectivity, and pluralism in public TV and radio. The new culture minister, sounds like a shadowy position, but the new culture minister has dismissed the heads of TVP and Polish radio. So basically, TV and radio is getting reformed over there. MPs, that's got to be the military police, from the Law and Justice Party, which apparently is abbreviated by PIS in Polish. So the Law and Justice Party, who lost power in October, reacted staging a sit-in at state TV headquarters. So the party that lost power is not happy with this. The ex-PIS, which is the ex-Law and Justice Prime Minister, and how funny that the Law and Justice Party is the name of things that are not about justice or law. Anyway, we'll move on. The ex-PIS Prime Minister condemned the Tusk government's illegal actions, and political ally President Andrzej Duda accused it of violating constitutional principles and the law. That's highly debatable. State media is an important tool in Poland. About a third of the people rely solely on it for their news, having no access to private broadcasters. That's incredibly important. I'll get to that in a moment. In recent years, TVP's main evening news broadcasts and TVP Info became a propaganda machine for the PIS government, and the new coalition led by pro-EU, that's the European Union, Prime Minister Donald Tusk, had promised voters to turn state media into a platform for reliable information. All right, let me drop out of here now that I shared this couple of stories. Real quick, again, this is, if it sounds familiar, it's because it is familiar. What's happening in these other countries, in Argentina and Poland, could easily migrate to larger, more well-known countries in what they call the Western world, in Europe and in North America. So they're reforming their mainstream media, they're reforming their economy, they're reforming their laws and their job programs. These countries are tired of the way that things have happened. I know that President Milei is against the central bank, and they're trying to reform that as well. So this is why it's important and I pay attention to international news more than I pay attention to domestic news, because again, back to what happened in Poland, where a third of the population gets their news from public TV and radio. Talk about a perfect opportunity to manipulate what people think. And that clearly can happen with certain media outlets in the United States and other countries in Canada and Western Europe. So this is why I pay attention to this. I would love to read your comments. I read everyone. Again, like, share, and subscribe if you like this video. I will try and post it also on Twitter. Get that up there, and let's see how that audience grows. If you find stories that are interesting and want us to comment on them, let us know with the Economic Preppers. We have a free Telegram. You can reach out to us. The free Telegram is in the description below. I believe info at Economic Preppers and economicpreppers.com can reach us as well. So with all that said, I'm going to leave it there for now. Happy holidays once again, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.